Adriana Lima once said she would stop eating solid food for 9 days straight before a Victoria's Secret show. 9 days, no solids, just liquids. And she's not the only one. The truth about what models actually eat to stay that lean is a lot darker and a lot more interesting than anyone tells you. And today, we're going into all of it. I'm going to go through exactly what some of the most famous models in the world have publicly said they eat in a day. Adriana Lima, Bella Hadid, Sanne Vloet, Gisele Bündchen, Naomi Campbell, and more. But I'm also going to tell you the parts that never make the headlines. Because there's a huge difference between what these women say they eat and what nutritionists actually think about it. Some of it is genuinely useful, and you can actually take away from it, and some of it, you really don't want to copy. So, let's get into it. Here's the thing. Every few months, a new article comes out. I tried eating like Bella Hadid for a week. Gisele Bündchen's diet revealed, and millions of women read it, compare it to what they eat, and then feel like they're doing something wrong, like there's some secret rule these women follow that no one is telling us. And honestly, that feeling makes sense. These models look incredible. Their skin is clear, their bodies are lean, their energy seems endless. So it's natural to want to know what they put in their mouths every single day. But here's the problem nobody talks about. A lot of what gets reported about model diets is incomplete. Or it leaves out the most important context. Or it was said in an interview where the model was literally preparing for a runway show. Which is not normal life, by the way. Their pre-show routines are extreme. Like, genuinely extreme. So today, we're going to look at all of it with full honesty. What they eat normally, what they do before shows, what actually makes sense to take from it, and what you should leave behind. Let's start with Gisele Bündchen, because her diet is probably the most documented of any model ever. Her former personal chef, a guy named Naomi Campbell, gave a very detailed interview years ago breaking down exactly how her household eats. And the core of it is this: 80% of what Gisele eats is vegetables. Organic, always. Whole grains like brown rice, quinoa, and millet. Beans, healthy fats. And then the remaining 20% is lean proteins. Grass-fed steak sometimes, chicken, and mostly wild salmon. That's basically it. What they don't eat is almost as long as what they do eat. No white sugar, no white flour, no MSG, no coffee, no caffeine, no dairy, no fungus. Yes, that includes mushrooms. It's a very, very clean way of eating, like almost aggressively clean. Now, one of her favorite dinner combinations that her chef described was quinoa with wilted kale or Swiss chard, with garlic cooked in coconut oil, and then toasted almonds or a cashew sauce with lime, lemongrass, and ginger. And honestly, that actually sounds really good, and it's not impossible to make at home. The thing about Gisele's diet is that it's less about eating very little and more about eating very specific things, high-quality, whole ingredients. No processed anything. And that's a takeaway that actually makes sense for regular people too. Now, let's talk about Bella Hadid, because her diet is a little different and honestly a little more relatable, at least on the surface. Bella's day-to-day eating is reportedly centered around whole foods and a lot of protein sources. Things like yogurt, hummus, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, celery with cashew butter, baby carrots. Very snack-heavy, very protein-focused. She drinks a lot of water and never leaves the house without something hydrating on her. She's also said she eats pizza, which every time she says that in an interview, the internet goes a little crazy. Because how can someone who looks like Bella Hadid eat pizza? And the honest answer is, she probably does eat pizza occasionally. But occasionally and daily are very different things. And what you don't see is the rest of what she eats in that same day, how much she moves, and what her baseline metabolism is like. The protein focus, though, that's genuinely smart. Protein keeps you full, it helps maintain muscle, and it stops you from reaching for random snacks out of hunger. That's something you can actually use. Now, Sanne Vloet, if you don't know her, she's a Dutch Victoria's Secret model who has been very open about her diet and lifestyle, especially in the lead up to the VS show. She's talked about starting her day with oatmeal loaded with banana, peanut butter, pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, and cinnamon. which is actually a really filling, nutrient-dense breakfast. And she's mentioned that avocado is a big part of her diet because the healthy fat keeps her satisfied for longer, which stops her from overeating later. What's interesting about Sanne is that she's one of the models who has been more realistic about the process. She talks about eating for energy, not just for looks. And her approach actually lines up with what most dietitians would recommend. Complex carbs in the morning, healthy fats throughout the day, protein at every meal. Now, let's talk about Naomi Campbell. At 54 years old, she still looks the way she does. And the two things she talks about the most are staying away from sugar and drinking a lot of water. She's mentioned green juices as a daily thing for energy, and she's very consistent with her workout routine, specifically leg and glute training. Her diet isn't the most detailed or complicated, but the principle is simple. Cut sugar, stay hydrated, move your body. That's it. Heidi Klum is another one worth mentioning. She's talked about eating grains and soups, specifically bone broth, and being a big fan of grain-heavy bread, like the dark pumpernickel bread that's really popular in Germany. She said she eats better now than when she was younger, and she's actually moved away from raw foods because cooked food is easier for your body to process, which is actually something a lot of nutritionists agree with, by the way. Your body absorbs more nutrients from cooked vegetables than raw ones in a lot of cases. And then there's Adriana Lima, who I have to be very honest about because her situation is more complicated than the others. Adriana Lima is one of the most famous Victoria's Secret angels of all time, and for years, she was everyone's body goal. But here's the thing that not enough people talk about. Adriana has admitted, publicly in interviews, that before the Victoria's Secret fashion show, she would stop eating solid food, not reduce it. Stop it completely, for up to 9 days, only liquids. And then in the final 12 hours before the show, she would stop drinking water too to reduce any bloating or water weight. Let that sit for a second. 9 days of no solid food, 12 hours of no water, for a runway show. Now, Adriana is not a villain in this story. She was doing what her industry expected of her at the time. And to her credit, she's talked about it with more complexity as she's gotten older. And the industry itself has started to move away from these kinds of extreme practices. But this is the reality behind what staying lean looked like for one of the most famous models in the world at the peak of her career. And this is the thing that none of those "I tried eating like a model for a week" articles ever actually say. These women were not eating the way they ate because it was healthy or because they loved it. A lot of them were eating that way because it was their job, because they had a show in 2 weeks and a contract to hold, because an entire industry was telling them that this was what they needed to do to stay on the runway. When Bella Hadid stepped away from modeling for a while, she talked about how much of the industry had affected her mentally and physically. The pressure to maintain a certain look, year-round, constantly, takes a real toll. So when you see a headline that says, "This is what Gisele eats in a day," or "Adriana Lima's pre-show diet," you need to understand the context around it. Some of it is actually useful. Some of it is something you should never replicate. The models who have had the longest, healthiest careers, and this is something you actually see when you look at it, are the ones who kept it sustainable. Balanced meals, real protein, healthy fats, not extreme restriction. So, what can you actually take away from all of this? The things that come up again and again across almost every model, Sanne Vloet, Gisele, Bella, Naomi, Heidi, are not secrets. They're actually pretty straightforward. Protein at every meal. Whether it's eggs in the morning, chicken at lunch, or salmon at dinner, every single one of these women is eating protein consistently. It keeps you full, it maintains muscle, and it keeps your metabolism working. Vegetables as the base. Not a side dish, not an afterthought. The base. Gisele's diet is literally 80% vegetables. That's the foundation. Cut the processed stuff. White sugar, white flour, ultra-processed snacks. They don't show up in any of these diets. Not because models have more willpower than anyone else, but because once you cut them for long enough, you stop craving them as much. Healthy fats are not the enemy. Avocado, nuts, coconut oil, olive oil, these fats show up in almost every model's diet because they keep you full, and they're actually good for your skin and hair too. And water. Naomi Campbell lives by it, Sanne Vloet talks about it, Heidi Klum mentions it. Hydration affects your energy, your skin, your digestion, everything. It's not a glamorous tip, but it matters. The things you should not take from model diets, the extreme pre-show restrictions, the liquid-only phases, any of the stuff that was done under industry pressure rather than for health. That is not something your body needs, and it's not something that works long-term. It's not even something most of these models would recommend now. The version of model eating that's actually worth paying attention to is the everyday version. Clean ingredients, real food, protein, vegetables, healthy fats, water, consistency over perfection. That's actually what keeps most of these women looking the way they do, not the extreme stuff you read about before a show. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe so you don't miss the next one.